Hello everyone, it is Evan here from the TradeRisk.com, and in today's video we're going to be looking at version 23, brand new, just released, still in beta, of Worden TC2000. Now, it feels like just yesterday they did their entire overhaul with version 20, but here we are with another release with some new cool features to play around with, and I feel like this version 23 has a lot of quality of life updates. So there are some much more intuitive look and feel design changes that they made. For instance, the old move button, right? You had to click on that move button in version 20 to get your indicator below your chart, above your chart, to your watch list columns. That's no more. So you can actually now just click and drag in a very natural sort of feel to move indicators around. So you don't have to deal with that button. You can just kind of naturally snap all of the indicators and charts into place. That is super nice. There's a whole list. And in fact, you can read the entire list that we have right here of all of the changes in version 23. I'm not going to go through all of them in this video. I have had the privilege, shout out to the team, thanks for getting me early access to do some bug hunting and to test out the software. So I've had the opportunity to play around with it for a few weeks now, and I want to just share some of my favorite updates that they pushed into version 23 in this video. Now, with that said, TC2000 does have an official video on their channel, so I'll put the link in the description of this video if you want to check out all the feature lists and see a short overview video that they've put together. Check out a link in the description of this video. And I think without any further, let's jump into today's walkthrough. All right, so this is the full list here of updates, or at least a pretty comprehensive list of all the changes that they've stacked into version 23. This list is pretty much what we're going to talk about today. These are some of my takeaways, favorites that I've played around with and enjoyed with this new release. Draw your attention to this grid right here. You can now, in your watch list columns, you can actually save some of that horizontal width, that space, and you can stack different watch list columns together in a single cell, basically. And so you can see it stack vertically if you're a little bit pressed for horizontal real estate. Basically, you can also now, there's a scroll bar that will appear in your watch list column. We're going to look at all of this in just a second. This here, market gauge, this is probably one of my favorite features they pushed in here. So this is basically a ranking of sorts. So you can actually discern and gain some market context around specific conditions that you have, and you can see how it falls in line with historical norms. So in this case here, in this screenshot, you'd say this is a below average reading of this particular condition. And last but not least, I think a lot of, especially day traders, even swing traders, active traders, are going to really like this new trending and most watched values that they now populate. I'm going to talk about that when we get into the charts here. So let's jump right in. All right, here it is, version 23 of TC2000, open and live, still in beta, of course, and we are looking at our ultimate swing trader layout. This is one of our custom layouts that TradeRisk has built. It's on our website, and for those of you who may be stumbling across us for the first time, we build things for TC2000. We do a lot of coding, custom stock scans, indicators, layouts, and we really sort of enhance the experience for active traders using this platform. We've been doing it for about a decade now. We've written hundreds of scans and stocks and indicators for traders. So check us out on our website. There's an email list for us with TC2000, and we've got a whole storefront, free and paid digital downloads. So check it out in the description of this video. So this is our ultimate swing trader layout. We're going to start here, and we're going to just kind of poke around and show some of these new features in this version 23. First, that thing that you may notice is on the left-hand side, these watch lists. So notice you've got scrolls here, okay? And this is actually something new because in the past, you always had to adjust your screen to see the entire length and width of columns that you put in here. And so for instance, you can see in this particular layout, we stack a lot of information here. And so you can see you have the opportunity now where you don't have to keep your width this wide to see all of these columns down here, you can in fact shrink it down, and you can use the scroll bar. That way you get a little bit more real estate for your charts. And so this is a nice little feature here, and they've been very thoughtful about that. And let's take another view here. Like we mentioned, one of the new things you can do is a lot of the headers that you see, the indicators that you see, you can now drag and drop. So for instance, TC2000 T2100 advanced decline line, you formerly had to click that move button. Now I can just drag it up here, and you can see the orange bar that keeps showing up here. It's basically saying this is where I can drop it, and I can just let go, and there it is, right? I can drag this up here and drop it up there as well. No more move button, very easy, very fluid to kind of drag things around. And there's a lot of things you can drag. We're gonna talk more about that. Speaking of which, the headers in Watchlist. So if we go back to our watch list now, just like we mentioned here, you've got the scroll bar to sort of maximize your screen real estate. You can now drag onto one another multiple watch list columns. And so instead of having all three of these in separate cells, you can now see that they are actually stacked under one another, and you've just got check marks that correspond in that order. So basically, again, this would allow you to keep your screen size maybe a little bit smaller on the column widths, and you can essentially get all of the information using a little more of the vertical real estate rather than the horizontal real estate. And this works for pretty much everything. You can stack, again, we've got 1 month, 3 month, 1 year returns. You could put all those together here, and you suddenly start to really slim this down, and you can get a lot of compact sort of information here without lengthening the screen here. So it just really is a personal preference type of thing. Would you rather scroll down more? Would you rather have the width that you want to preserve? So I think this is a nice feature, at least to give the option to folks that want that extra savings. Now let's spend our time here on the watch list, because there are a lot of changes in regards to watch list here. They've become a lot more powerful, and there's a lot more you can do with it, and some of the keystrokes are a little bit different. So what we're going to do first is I'm just going to right click on this column header, the watch list column header, and we've got a choice now. We can edit this specific column header, which in this case would be the 10 SMA rising, or we can edit all columns. And I'm going to click on the edit all columns. And this is really the big overhaul here that you see. And this is your column and filters manager here for this entire watch list. And so what you'll notice is you've got, starting on the left-hand side, you've got all of these toggles here where you can actually hide or turn on the display of these different columns. So perhaps you don't want to delete a column because sometimes you like to bring it up, or occasionally, you want to see it, but maybe during the day, for instance, you don't need to see what the 52-week drawdown is. So you can just turn that off. Again, save some real estate and very quickly kind of move it. Once again, everything you can drag and drop here. This is a new thing you can get used to, but essentially if you want to adjust, remember they have the old move button here for watch list columns. You had to toggle left and right as you moved it around. So now you can actually just drop and reorder things as you would, and you can click on the toggle here. And what's pretty cool is, notice we've got a stack in here. And so a stack is what we actually did just a moment ago when we stacked the 1 month, 1 year, 3 month, year to date returns all together in one single cell or one single header. You can hide that entire stack all at once. And you can obviously destack it or unstack it, and you can move them back out again. So this is pretty cool. This is really a new way to sort of organize and move around your watch list. And what's really going to become important here is your scans, your condition sets that you previously had applied to the specific watch list columns. They are going to now show up in here as a condition, and you can actually adjust the filtering of this condition right in here. All right, so let's, for instance, close this one out, and let's look at this down here. So in our Ultimate Swing Trader layout, you can see this is the bearish list of stocks, and these are stocks at 52-week lows. And so previously, you would see the scan applied up here. And now what you'll do is you'll click on Edit. And when you click on the edit, you're actually going to see here is the 52-week lows scan applied. And right now we're saying it has to equal true. In other words, this filter is on. This watch list of stocks are indeed stocks that are at 52-week lows right now. We are sorting the US common stocks list based on a true value of 52-week lows being made. So if I actually uncheck this, you're going to see all 6,600 stocks down here in the common stocks list. As soon as I click this back, this scan is applied, and you can actually see that scan result in two places. One, right in, oh, I'm sorry, you know why I can't see it is because it's hidden right now. So if you actually look at this, you can see there's no little eyeball here. So as soon as I click this, that's when it will become visible in this list. So I can hit close, and here it is. So now we have a check mark, which is essentially our scan. Our condition set is now true, and therefore it shows up as a column. And if I were to edit this column, here it is. You can see new 52-week lows. Here's the code for it. Make sure there's enough volume, and this is where your scan appears. So this is actually a big change. When you open up the beta version here of version 23, what you're going to notice is if you have watch lists with previous scans applied to them, they are now going to be showing up. And again, they won't naturally show up because what's going to happen is they're going to have a toggle off initially. But essentially, it's the same thing. The filter is applied. You just have to make sure you toggle it back on if you want to see it. And again, if you want to change whether or not you're sorting or you're curating based on your condition set, this is what you're going to click on. If you want to have multiple filters here, you can do that. And so you can actually filter on two different things. This is a value, so it's going to ask me, hey, you need to make sure you put in a value here. But in this case, I am now sorting this list or curating this list based on year to date over 10 and 52-week lows. Right now, you can see there's no stocks that meet that criteria. If I say only needs to pass any of them, essentially an OR condition, you can see now both of them have the opportunity to show themselves, and you can toggle and you can look at which one here is actually showing up, whether it's a 52-week lows or whether it's your year-to-date over 10. All right, so a little bit of maneuvering there, updating in terms of scans or condition sets applied to your watch list columns. Everything's still there. Everything's backwards compatible. It's just an extra maybe step or where to look for it and how to edit it is a little bit different. Now, a couple of other changes here. You can easily change the time frame, and this is actually pretty cool. They've done this global kind of color coordinated. They've always had the colors here, but it's much easier to kind of sync up charts and watch lists and indicators to these different time frames. And you can either do it by color coordination, or you can just actually change the daily to whatever you want. So if you want to go down to a 5-minute on this, if you want to go to a monthly here, you can toggle everything very easily here with this new sort of edit columns and filters window. So that I think is pretty cool. Again, refresh down here. It's on manual. You can change all these settings. You can toggle whether or not it needs to pass all of your filters or any single one of them. And those are some of the big changes on watch lists. Now, a couple of other things you can do. We talked about dragging, and so now you can drag directly from a watch list to a chart. And I think this is actually pretty cool. And what you'll notice is I've got this selected and held right now on my mouse. And you can see in the top left, these options have come up here because it knows that I've got the 1 month in my hand, let's call it. And so basically it's saying, hey, do you want to chart this in a new window? Do you want to sort it in a new window? Do you want to show it in a new data grid window? Or I have the option to just drop it underneath my chart. And what you can see here now is the formula that I had in the watch list is actually displayed as an indicator value underneath the chart. And once again, you can kind of drag this around. You can scale it with others if you want, and you can actually put it directly with your other indicators. So I think this is cool. It again makes things much more intuitive and easy to kind of move around and sort of edit things as you're going throughout TC2000. So we talked about the stacked columns. We talked about the horizontal watch list scrolling, toggling columns, filtering from columns, and managing the layout time frame. So we did all of that. We talked about drag and drop. Okay, so that gives us a pretty good overview of the watch list changes. There's some more things in there, but I'm going to leave it there for right now. And I want to show you the market gauge. I briefly sort of previewed this and teased it earlier in the video. So with the market gauge, what we're going to do here is I'm going to right click on this 10 SMA falling condition that I have here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to copy to a new market gauge. All right. And what this is going to do is it is going to calculate, first off, the number of stocks that meet this condition. So right now there are 4,623 stocks with a 10 SMA that is falling. That's a lot. So I'm recording this March 15th. It's been a little bit volatile and turbulent out there, to say the least. And so you can see that there's a lot of stocks right now that are falling in terms of their 10 SMA. But you know, maybe you don't know that, right? Maybe you have some more complex sort of conditions that you're trying to figure out. Is that a high reading? Is that a low reading? And so what the market gauge is doing is, first off, displaying the total number of stocks that meet this condition in the US common stocks list. You can change the watch list that it's computing on, but it's also showing you this red to green dial, which shows basically the intensity or the rank percentile. If you want to get a little bit more fancy, it's looking back over 1,500 bars. And in this case, it's almost maximum here. So it's basically saying, hey, this is a nosebleed reading. This is very high in here in the number of stocks that are declining. And this is not, I don't want to say it's not normal, but it's definitely above average. Let's call it that. And I think these are really cool. I can see folks, you know, really placing these in lots of different spots. This one, it looks like you still got that move button here. I don't know if there's a way to, let's see, can I drag this? I don't know if there's a way to get this with just a dragging, because it opens in a new window. So I think we do have to move, and then you can put it down here. And in fact, you can see, well, let's just do a couple of these here. So now we've got our 200 SMA. Okay, you can see this one's not as extreme, but we can move this one right here. And hey, let's get our 50 SMA as well. And that way we have the whole sort of trifecta here. We're going to move it. We're going to put it here. And now you've got this nice kind of 10 SMA, 50 SMA, 200 SMA. Where are we in these dials? And just like a speedometer in a car, you're looking at your gauges and you are actually, you know, contextually understanding how fast you're going, or how damaged the market is, or how good the market is, depending on what you're looking at. So these market gauges, I think, are just really nice, very intuitive, easy to look at, and you can keep them pretty darn small because you don't actually have to, you know, put them in a big screen and kind of stare at them. Last thing I think I'll show in this video is the new edit conditions window. And it's actually not a new window per se. It's got a lot of similar things here, but I want to show the stacking of, or the adding the or and the and conditions. So these operators used to be a little bit clunky in version 20. And so now when you've got a condition here, whether or not it's a custom PCF code, or if it's condition that you use the UI to generate, you'll see these little plus buttons here that you can add. Now, normally, if you hit a plus down here, this is just going to be an and, right? And so you can see, let's say close is greater than 10. So we want stocks that are over $10. You can see the little and button that just appeared here, or the little and operator. You can change it to an or, and you can actually just build out a little bit more logically, a little bit cleaner. It puts the parentheses around here, and you can kind of, build out these little Lego blocks of and or conditions. You could do it previously, but I'd say it's just a little more intuitive sort of navigating around building blocks here of some of these more complex conditions. So this is pretty much the biggest change, I'd say, is just the way you can and or construct things together. You still have your same old text box here to input your PCF. You still got your same old little buttons down here. You will see though, however, because I clicked on a watch list column, notice here you've got this little past columns where it shows 2 and it's unchecked. So this is actually another really cool feature that I meant to talk about. So what you can do here is you can click this past columns. I'm going to change it to 4. I'm going to click on OK. And what this is actually doing now is showing you over the last 4 days, what did the 200 SMA falling indicator, what was the state of a particular stock on the previous 4 days. And so it's actually really nice because you can just get this nice little hindsight grid here. Again, you get this more market context. When you're looking at conditions, you can now start to see, okay, this is what it did today, but was that true yesterday? How about the day before that? And you can actually change this. Look how easy it is to go now to say a 1 hour time frame, and suddenly now your last 4 days turns into the last 4 hours. So you're looking at 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and 4 p.m. Really cool, very quick, right? More quality of life adjustments here. You don't have to right click, edit, change the time frame. You've got this little corner time frame here. And of course you can link it up, but you can just easily toggle. And again, changing it to 10 minutes changes this to 3:30, 3:40, 3:50. I can right click this. I can click edit. Let's say I only want to see 2 columns now. Click OK. There you go. Now you only see the current and then the last 20 minutes in this case. So I think that's a good place to leave it. There's probably a dozen or more features that we did not look at in this video, but we are going to be doing more video tutorials and guides on version 23. That's what we do here at Trade Risk. We support TC2000 ecosystem, and we do a lot of updates and guides. We got plenty more on our website, so definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already doing that. Make sure you're on our email list. We actually have 2 email lists. So we have a TC2000 specific email list, and we have a general market analysis and trading education newsletter. So make sure you're on the TC2000 one if that's what you're interested in. We'll put links in the description of this video, and definitely expect more from us here. So hopefully this little sneak peek first impressions video was helpful. If you have questions, we're happy to answer them in the comments. And then don't forget to check back here for more TC2000 content. Thanks so much for tuning in, and happy trading.